Why do they keep showing up in your dreams? Maybe it's been months, even years since you last spoke. Maybe they're no longer here. But somehow, just when you think you've moved on, they return, not through a phone call or message, but in the quiet hours of the night, slipping into your dreams like they never left. You wake up unsettled, not because the dream was bad, but because it felt too real. And part of you wonders, why them and why now? It's easy to brush it off. Just a dream, you tell yourself. But deep down, something feels unfinished, like your soul is still holding onto a thread you thought you let go of. You're not imagining things. These dreams mean something. They're not just random flickers of memory. They're messages, warnings, longings, sometimes even invitations. And the more they repeat, the harder they are to ignore. In this video, we're going to explore what your soul might be trying to tell you when you keep dreaming about someone you once loved. Whether it's an ex, a friend, or someone who's passed on, these dreams often carry clues about your deepest emotions, the ones you've buried, avoided, or simply never understood. Some of these meanings might surprise you. Others might feel painfully true, but if you've ever woken up with their name still echoing in your mind, this might be exactly what you need to hear. Sometimes the people we dream about aren't the ones we miss the most. They're the ones we never fully let go of emotionally. You might not think about them during the day. You might have told yourself it's over, that you've moved on, healed, and closed the chapter. But dreams don't care about what you say out loud. They go straight to the parts of you that are still unfinished. When someone you once loved shows up in your dreams over and over, it could mean that your emotions around them were never truly resolved. Not just romantic feelings, but regret, confusion, guilt, even anger. Your mind has a way of storing feelings you weren't ready to process, and dreams become the space where those emotions finally rise to the surface. It's not always about wanting them back. It's about needing to understand what they meant to you, or why things ended the way they did. Maybe you still wonder if you made the right decision. Maybe you never said what you needed to say. Or maybe a part of you is still waiting for something that was never going to come. These emotional loose ends don't disappear. They echo, and for many people, they show up not as memories, but as dreams. When your waking life is busy and distracted, dreams step in to finish the emotional conversation. That's why it feels so personal, so piercing, when someone you once loved walks into your dreams like no time has passed. Because deep down, your soul knows there's still something there. And until it's faced, your mind will keep returning to it, night after night. Not every dream is about longing. Sometimes it's about learning. When someone you loved appears again and again in your dreams, it might not be your heart that's holding on. It might be your soul trying to remind you of a lesson you never fully absorbed. That person could represent a turning point in your life, a choice you made, or even a part of yourself you abandoned in the process. Think back to who you were when you knew them. What did they bring out in you, the best or the worst? What patterns repeated? What boundaries were crossed or never set at all? Often, we dream about someone not because we miss them, but because our soul is still trying to understand what they taught us, or what they were meant to teach us but didn't get the chance. Maybe they were your mirror, showing you the parts of yourself you tried to hide. Maybe the way things ended left you doubting your worth, and your dreams are trying to help you reclaim it. Or maybe you're about to make a familiar mistake again, and your subconscious is warning you by showing you the face of someone tied to that same choice in the past. These dreams can feel confusing, even haunting, because they're less about the person and more about the meaning. Your soul doesn't speak in plain language. It speaks in symbols, emotions, patterns. And if someone keeps reappearing in your dreams, especially during moments of change or uncertainty, ask yourself, what did they represent? Because more often than not, the dream isn't about them. It's about you, and something you still haven't fully understood. There's a reason some dreams feel less like memories and more like connections, like someone reaching out from a distance, pulling at you with a feeling you can't explain. If you keep dreaming about someone you once loved, especially at random times or in vivid detail, there's a possibility that they're thinking about you too. It might sound far-fetched, but emotional energy is powerful, and it doesn't just disappear when a relationship ends. When two people share a deep connection, romantic, spiritual, or emotional, that bond can linger long after the words stop. Some researchers call it emotional resonance, others call it quantum entanglement, but whatever the name, the result is the same. You feel them. Sometimes without warning, sometimes without reason. And it shows up in dreams that feel startlingly real, as if they're right there beside you again, saying things you swore you'd never hear again. You might wake up wondering, why now? You weren't thinking about them. Nothing reminded you of them. And yet, there they were. Calm, angry, loving, distant. The tone of the dream often mirrors what they might be feeling, not just what you are. And if the connection between you is strong enough, it's entirely possible that their energy is still brushing against yours, especially during sleep, when your defenses are down and your mind is most open. This doesn't mean they're meant to come back. It doesn't mean you should reach out or reopen old wounds, but it might mean they haven't let go either, not fully. And the soul has its own way of reaching across distance, time, and silence. Sometimes all it takes is one moment of vulnerability on their side, and suddenly they're in your dreams, like a whisper you didn't expect to hear. Grief doesn't always show up the way we expect. Sometimes it hides behind strength, behind distractions, behind the belief that we've already moved on. But in the quiet hours of sleep, when everything else is still, grief speaks, and often it speaks in the form of dreams. If someone you loved keeps showing up in your dreams, it could be your soul's way of telling you that you're still grieving, even if you didn't realize it. You might not be crying, you might not be talking about them anymore, and you might have gone months without thinking of them consciously. But grief is sneaky. It shows up in anniversaries you forgot to remember, in places you suddenly avoid, in songs that tighten your chest without warning. And most of all, it shows up in dreams. Because that's the one place where your heart doesn't have to pretend it's fine. These dreams can feel heavy, almost sacred. You might find yourself reliving moments you thought you had let go of. Or you might find yourself with them again, holding hands, talking, laughing, as if your soul is giving you the closure you never got. And when you wake up, there's that aching feeling that lingers, like you lost them all over again. It's important to understand that grief has no deadline. Whether the person died, left, or slowly faded from your life, your bond with them doesn't vanish overnight. And just because time has passed doesn't mean your heart has caught up. Your dreams might be your soul's way of gently asking, are you still carrying this? And if the answer is yes, if their face still stirs something deep in you, then maybe it's time to stop pretending you're over it and start giving yourself permission to feel what's left, because healing only begins when grief is finally acknowledged. There's a different kind of weight that lingers in dreams, the kind that comes from guilt, not always loud, not always obvious, but present. If you keep dreaming about someone you once loved, and those dreams leave you feeling uneasy, restless, or even ashamed, your soul might be trying to show you something you haven't forgiven. Maybe in them, but more likely in yourself. Guilt is quiet during the day. You stay busy, you justify the past, you tell yourself you did what you had to do. But at night, there's nowhere to hide. Your mind replays the scenes you try not to revisit, the final conversation, the words you regret, the things you didn't say, or the way it all fell apart when it didn't have to. And suddenly, there they are again. Not to haunt you, but to confront the truth you've buried. Maybe you blame yourself for hurting them. Maybe you blame them for what they did, but still feel guilty for how you reacted. Or maybe deep down, you know you never gave them the version of you they deserved. These dreams are your soul's attempt to bring that guilt to light, not to punish you, but to push you toward healing. Because until you face it, it will keep resurfacing in the form of late-night apologies that only happen behind closed eyes. Sometimes the person in the dream doesn't even speak. They just look at you, silently, knowingly, and that look is enough to unravel everything you've tried to lock away. But guilt doesn't disappear by ignoring it. It only softens when you forgive yourself, when you admit the pain you caused, and when you allow yourself to grieve the version of you who didn't know better at the time. Your dreams aren't accusing you. They're offering a mirror, one you've avoided for too long. And maybe it's time to stop running from what you wish you'd done differently and start becoming the version of yourself who wouldn't make that same mistake again. Sometimes, dreaming about someone you once loved isn't about the past at all. It's about the future you've been avoiding. Their face might not represent them anymore. It might represent a feeling you've shut down. Connection, vulnerability, intimacy. Your soul could be using their image to show you what it secretly craves. Not them, but the closeness they once represented. After heartbreak, it's common to shut doors quietly. You tell yourself you're fine on your own, that you're better off not risking it again. You get used to the silence, the independence, the safety of keeping your heart just out of reach. But in your dreams, your soul has no walls, no fear, and that's when it reaches for what it truly misses. Not necessarily a person, but the experience of being seen, understood, touched. Seeing someone you loved in a dream can be a gentle nudge from within. It's time to feel again, time to connect, time to stop living like love is something that happened in another lifetime. And often, your mind uses someone familiar, someone who once stirred those feelings in you, as a symbol. It's less about them and more about who you were when you were with them, how open you were, how willing you were to love. You might not realize it in your waking life. You might think you're fine keeping people at a distance. But the dreams tell another story. They show you what your soul is ready for, even if your conscious self is still afraid. And if they keep coming back in your sleep, maybe it's because your heart is finally whispering that it's time to let someone in again. Not because you're broken, but because you're ready. There are some dreams that feel different, not just emotional, but almost spiritual. You wake up and swear, it wasn't just a dream. You felt their presence. You heard their voice in a way that didn't feel imagined, especially when the person you're dreaming about has passed on. These dreams can carry an energy that's hard to explain. And maybe that's because they aren't just dreams, they're visits. Many people who've lost someone close report having vivid, comforting dreams where the person appears healthy, calm, and peaceful, often offering reassurance without saying much at all. Sometimes they smile, sometimes they just sit with you, but it feels real in a way that nothing else does. These aren't random memories your brain is recycling. These are moments your soul is receiving. When the bond between two people is strong enough, death doesn't always break the connection. It just changes how it shows up. And dreams can become the bridge. If you've been visited in this way, you probably know the difference. It doesn't feel like your mind wandering. It feels like something or someone came to you, maybe to comfort, maybe to guide, maybe just to let you know that they're okay and that you will be too. These dreams often happen during difficult periods, after a loss, during a major life transition, or in moments when you feel especially alone. And then, out of nowhere, they appear, as if to remind you that love doesn't vanish, that somewhere beyond what we can see, the connection still exists. You don't have to believe in the afterlife to feel the power of these dreams. Sometimes all you need to do is pay attention to how you felt when you woke up, calmer, clearer, a little less lost, because maybe your soul isn't imagining things. Maybe, just maybe, someone you loved found a way to remind you that they never really left. Not every dream about someone you once loved is tender or comforting. Some leave you unsettled, confused, tense, even afraid. And while it's easy to brush these off as emotional leftovers, sometimes they carry a deeper warning. The person you keep seeing might not be coming back to remind you of who they were, but of who you're becoming. or what you're repeating. Your subconscious has a way of noticing patterns before you do. It watches you fall into familiar dynamics, gravitate toward the same type of person, or make choices that echo old mistakes. And when it recognizes a path that looks dangerously familiar, it sends a signal, often in the form of someone you've known before. Not because you miss them, but because you're walking straight back into a version of yourself that hurt. These dreams can feel tense, rushed, emotionally chaotic, like you're reliving a situation you swore you'd never go through again. That's not an accident. It's your inner self waving a flag saying, "Stop, look closer." Maybe it's a relationship you're in now. Maybe it's the way you're letting yourself be treated. Or maybe it's how you're starting to act. Shutting down, pushing people away, settling for less. The soul has a memory longer than the mind. It knows what broke you once. And if you're drifting back into that territory, it won't stay quiet. It will send you dreams that force you to look, to remember, to question. Because the person in your dream might not be about the past at all. They might be a symbol of a lesson you still haven't learned. So if these dreams leave you shaken, don't ignore them. They might not be about missing someone. They might be about missing the point and getting one last chance to choose differently this time. Dreams are never just dreams. They're whispers from the parts of you that don't speak during the day, the parts that remember, ache, hope, and sometimes still hurt. When someone you once loved keeps appearing in your sleep, it's not random, it's not meaningless. Whether they're showing up as comfort, regret, warning, or reflection, there's a reason your soul keeps calling them back. Maybe it's unfinished emotion. Maybe it's a lesson. Maybe it's grief, guilt, or growth trying to find its way through. Or maybe, just maybe, it's your heart reminding you that it still has something to say, and it's tired of being ignored. These dreams are invitations to listen, not with your ears, but with your awareness, to notice what still lives in you long after they're gone. So the next time you wake up from one of these dreams, the kind that makes you stare at the ceiling and wonder what it meant, don't just shake it off. Ask yourself what your soul is trying to tell you, because buried in that dream could be the clarity, the closure, or the courage you've been waiting for. If this spoke to you in any way, leave a comment below. Let us know what kind of dreams you've had and what you think they were trying to say. And if you're ready for more videos that explore the quiet truths most people avoid, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. There's more to come.